Welcome back to the channel. I am Bryce Edwards. It is a new month. It is time to look at the data we were able to extract from September. It is now October 3rd as the making of this video. We are going to be looking at charts. We are going to be talking about what I'm seeing currently in the market. And then we're going to be seeing, can we learn anything from this and see where it might be going? With that said, currently mortgage rates are sitting about 7.7% on a 30-year fixed. They've been over 7% all of September, so we're going to see what that might have done to the market, if anything, and see what might be happening going forward. All of this data is pulled directly from the MLS, and the reason I say that is unlike a lot of the videos you see out there where it's just somebody else's headline and they're just reading an article essentially to you. This is what's actually going on in the market. This is the sales that are happening. And furthermore, we are going to break it into three segments. So it's going to be general market health, it's going to be the high-rise market, and then it's going to be the luxury market. If you're only interested in one of those, it will be timestamped below so you can jump ahead if you'd like. As we jump into our first chart here. So first chart here, we've got active number of listings. You can see it's remained flat. There's just not a lot of incentive for a seller to get on the market like there was during the pandemic where, somebody could just sell because they wanted to sell. Now you really need a life reason to sell. So we're not absorbing it any quicker than they're being listed for the most part, but it remains stable. Sales price average remains fairly flat, I guess you would say. Over the last 5 years, it's obviously trended up with huge spikes along the way and a little bit of a valley in the middle, but it's trending seemingly flat over the recent months because you're going to have a little bit of peaks and valleys just because a big sale can happen or something along those lines. Days on market, so we're sitting just barely over 30 days on market. In my experience over the last 11 years or so, I would like to see this closer to 50 to 60 days for a balanced market. But right now we're seeing homes, if it's priced well, marketed correctly, you can see a home still sell with multiple offers, even with mortgage rates where they currently are. Months of inventory, same kind of thing. We'd like to see this more 4 to 5 in my experience. So we'd like to see this a little bit higher, just so it's more balanced for everybody, but definitely right now it's on the lower end. And then lastly, this is just number of sales. So you can see a little bit of the cliff here. So we've gone down slightly on the number of sales over the last 2 months or so, as upward pressure has gone on the mortgage rates. You see here, this is likely when the mortgage rates dropped slightly earlier in the year when they were, down in the low sixes. So this is likely that springtime boom that we had. And then you probably, saw these people come back in because you've got to remember this stuff takes 30 to 60 days to close. So that's why a lot of those articles are already outdated by the time they're made. This one I like to show to everybody that I can. This is only within my MLS. So this is a snapshot of what's been going on the last 7 days in the market. As you can just look, if you add up the numbers that are under contract, we're nearly outpacing right there. I mean, yeah, it's fairly close. We're nearly outpacing new listings on the market just by what's going under contract here. So something to keep an eye on. Like I said, there's just not a lot of incentive for a seller to sell. And later we're going to be talking about why there's still demand in this market. I also want to talk about, so this is a listing I know well. I've showed this home before. It's a stone throw away from me. So I wanted to mention, if you go back a slide and we talk about price decrease, back on the market, new listings, I wanted to show this. This is why the data, you've got to know the market by having, an agent active in the market. Because this listing here, as you can see, they go up 1,000, down 1,000, up 100, down 100, just to reset, on all of these search portals so that it looks like something's going on with the listing. So I just want it to be a word of caution that even if you see a price decrease, stat out there that looks alarming, it could be because homes are on the market just slightly longer. They might be doing stuff like this. I mean, it looks like he's doing it nearly every 7 to 9 days. So something to be aware of. And you can also see this one where it was pulled off the market, relisted the same day for the same price. So it's a new listing. something to be aware of when you're looking at stats online, especially when it's somebody just regurgitating an article. And then this is where we're just going to talk about where people are moving from in Las Vegas. So, I mean, this matches up with my business very closely as far as who's talking to me right now. We have a lot of people moving from Southern California, Northern California, the Pacific Northwest, and then I'm seeing a uptick as well in the Midwest. As it gets colder going throughout the year, we'll see if that continues. But I mean, I think the theme here is high tax people are choosing to relocate. So in general, what I would say about the general housing market, a well-priced home is still selling. There's still demand from a buyer who can afford, a mortgage in this market. So what I would say going forward, you want to be buying real estate with a long-term mindset is what I would say, especially with Las Vegas, all the things that are coming into town, the Oakland A's, the Sphere just opened, F1's next month, we have a lot going on here. So I think you definitely, if you're thinking of buying, look to buy long-term, buy something that you like, and I would not buy something betting on rates going down. Next, we are going to be looking at the high-rise market. A lot of similarities to what we've seen in the last set of slides here. So let's get right into it here. So number of listings, you can see it's on the lower end again. We're seeing a low amount of listings, and this market has become very hot because there's a very few options to Airbnb here in Las Vegas, and high rises is one of those areas. So you'll see later when we look at where the listings are selling at, that 3 to 600 range that's where a lot of those Airbnb properties fall into, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the market movement currently. Days on market on average, as you can see, trending down as well. I think that's being a little bit propped up by a lot of the places that like MGM Signature. They're selling so quickly as soon as they get on the market because there used to be like 100 listings in there and there's like 25. So something to be aware of there where days on market is still low. Same kind of thing that we looked at in the general market. This just shows what's going on the last 7 days. And this is only MLS data right here. So this is, you won't see this elsewhere. So as you can see here, we're a little bit healthier compared to the general market where we're not quite absorbing everything that gets put on the market as it gets put on the market, but stuff is still selling very quickly in specific towers. If you want condo specific information, I have a whole video on like a high rise guide. I would definitely recommend checking that out. Here we are, just a historic count of active listings. You can see we had a huge spike in 2020. This was more abrupt than any other market that we have here in Las Vegas, but really it's about the same as it was in 2018. There's just a lot of demand right now for the high-rise product. And then number of sales, as you can see, we're trending upward again. This was the boom when interest rates fell slightly. So this was what this huge spike was, because you've got to remember, if you lock in a rate and you go under contract, it might take you 30 to 60 to 90 days to close. So that's why a lot of this data, you've really got to be in the market to know what's really going on in the market. Sales price average, slightly trending up. The problem with the high-rise market is there's a lot of very high-end condo towers, I should say. And when those sales happen, it can really change the whole month's numbers. So something to keep an eye on where it's trending upward, I would say. In the peaks and valleys, I think they're so pronounced just because of the discrepancy between, you can have places in Veer that the cheapest place is $300,000, the most expensive is over $1 million. So just the change in the pricing in one tower, that's what can contribute to this. And lastly, we talked about this in the general market video as well. This is just where people are moving from. This is what I'm seeing in my business as well. People are reaching out to me from California, Southern California, Northern California, and then Pacific Northwest. A little bit of activity with people reaching out to me from the Midwest. You can see that a little bit here. I think the theme is high tax states are continuing to relocate to Las Vegas. So in general, what I would say regarding the high-rise market is it continues to be strong. I have a stat here where 63% of the sales in the last month were in cash. So it's a very cash dependent market. We see a lot of people that are buying second properties in Las Vegas, especially the Airbnb ones. They are purchasing those properties. They are doing Airbnb if it's allowed in that building, and then they are just coming to visit whenever they would like. So we're seeing a lot of that because you can actually get a return on your money that way. So that is where the high-rise market is at. There are some new options opening, such as the Four Seasons residences in the future. Those resales won't be on the market for years, but when that stuff starts to happen, I'm sure our prices will continue to climb. Lastly, we are going to talk about the luxury market here in Las Vegas, as opposed to the other two markets where not a lot gets sold. Well, I mean, there is plenty that gets sold off market, but the most notable sales in the luxury segment usually happen off market. Those sales are not reflected in MLS numbers. You'd have to go to, gossip columns if it's somebody prominent, or you'd have to just be somebody watching tax records all the time. So that's a little bit of a caveat on that. We don't talk about, a lot of the gossip stuff on here, only the stuff that's readily available. Like, Mark Wahlberg just sold a place, one of his places in the Summit last week. So something like that, which is common knowledge, we'll discuss. But in general, we don't talk a lot about that. So, and the other thing with that is a lot of the sales that happen, especially in the ultra high end, like places like the Summit, or a Sky or McDonald Highlands, when those sales happen now, it's a lot of new development going on in there. So that data does not get reflected in here. The only way that data would get reflected in here is if that lot was put on the market before. But like I said, a lot of that happens off market, or if a developer's selling it directly as they're building out a community, that data does not reflect in here too. So as we're into the charts here, our number of sales. So as you can see, we had the huge spike in 2022. We had this little bit of a rally that happened when interest rates were low. Well, I guess I shouldn't say low, but when they had a little bit of a drop off and they were down in the sixes. So as you can see here, we're looking at a little bit of a drop off in the most recent months as far as number of sales. So something to keep an eye on. I'm still getting plenty of interest in the 1 million plus price range. So, we'll see where this continues to head towards, especially as we get into the colder months. Next, we have just average days on market. I think this is very low. You can see that a well-priced home that's marketed correctly is selling in under 60 days. When you have numbers like that, it shows that there's still a lot of interest in moving here, especially people that can sell a place such as in California, reap a lot of their equity, and then move it to a no income tax state like Las Vegas. I think that's what's propelling this market. I think that's what's making the days on market stay so low. Months of inventory, same kind of thing. We don't have a ton of listings. You have to be willing to sell in order, you have to have a reason to sell is what I'm meaning to say. You don't just list your home like you did during the pandemic just because you can. Now you really want a reason to, because you're likely locked into a 30-year fix at a low rate. Active number of listings, a little bit on the higher side, as you can see, definitely compared to 2018. This number doesn't scare me as much as it might when you just look at it. And the reason I say that is since the market has appreciated, we're inevitably going to get more listings above $1 million. So as that happens, we're just going to end up with more listings in this price range. So this number doesn't scare me as much because that $1 to $2 million range has just exploded with listings. So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing here. I don't think it's really a great barometer of what's going on. And then sales price average stays relatively same with a slight uptick. So like I said, I think we're just, and this is more than a lot of other markets. This one's just heavily influenced by big sales that happen. Like there's a $75 million place under contract in McDonald Highlands. When that goes and actually sells, it's going to make that month look historic. And that's just because of what's going to happen when that one sells. So I think that's why you see a lot of the peaks and the valleys. And I think in general, we've seen, like I said, just a lot more of homes being able to be listed $1 million plus. I just saw a home just around the corner, a community I'm familiar with, that was listed. It was a flip opportunity. They bought it for, I think, 1.4. They listed it for 2.1 after the remodel, sold in 3 days. So that sort of stuff is still happening. There are still multiple offers. A great home is still selling. This one, you won't get to see this data on a lot of other sites because this is pulled directly from my dashboard. This is just showing what's been going on the last 7 days. So it's, the most recent barometer of what's going on. So as you can see, we're not quite absorbing what's being listed right now. And I think we saw that earlier on. So even though we have, 31 listings that were absorbed in the last 7 days, we had 43 listed. So something to be aware of. And let's talk about the price decrease while we're here. We talked about this in the general market video as well, but I'm going to give an example here. So this is a home I know well. It's a stone's throw away from me. I'm going to say the same thing if you're watching all the way through. But as you can see, they kind of just game the market a little bit. They go up, down, up, down. Sometimes it's only $4,000 or sometimes it's only $1,000. So it's really just to get their listing to go back up to the top of the list. And then you can also see this other technique that a lot of agents use here where they basically pull it off the market, put it right back on the market the same day. Makes it look like a new listing when it's really not. This, it's fairly common in the luxury market. It really depends on the kind of agent. There's a lot of agents who, like me, would never do something like this. This isn't a technique we use. But a lot of agents do use this. As you can see, as days on market go up, you want to look for strategies to get people interested in it or to see, because a lot of times by dropping this price $1,000, it'll prompt an email to be sent out from all the portals to, hey, new price drop in this area. And it's really just $1,000. I think I think I'm confident enough that I could negotiate off $1,000 on nearly any listing. So something to be aware of when you're looking at the luxury data. Lastly, we're just going to look at where people are coming from. As I said, a lot of people who are choosing to leave places like Southern California and Northern California for a multitude of reasons. They're choosing to come to Las Vegas, Florida, Texas, which has been the theme since the beginning of the pandemic. So that's what I'm seeing when people are reaching out to me. I'm seeing a lot of California. I'm seeing the Pacific Northwest, and then I'm seeing some of the Midwest. So the theme is high tax states, maybe places that are experiencing a little bit more crime than they are used to. And also, Hawaii's always been a huge mover here. They call us the 9th island over here. So a lot of that is going on. A lot of people trying to learn about the Las Vegas market if they lived in one of these other markets their whole entire life. If you wanted to learn more about the Las Vegas market, I have a couple of different videos that I've made. I've made one where it basically talks about the different areas of Las Vegas that'll be posted. And then I have one that goes over all of the high rises. It shows where they're at, what they're in relation to. And eventually we're going to go through each of those as we can. I don't want to rush it because I don't want to put out anything subpar, but eventually we'll go through all of these communities. I'll be able to give you my insights on each of them. But if you wanted to learn where the high rises are, or if you wanted to learn different areas of Las Vegas that are commonly referred to, those are two great resources I think I've made that you can reference. So in total, where would I say the housing market is? So as of the making of this video, 7.7% interest rate on a 30-year fixed. Very high. So I think unless there's some sort of catalyst that changes something, we're not seeing enough new homes being built, especially ones that are affordable. And then we're not seeing enough sellers be willing to sell. There has to be something that changes in order for this state to change. As always, I think the good advice is to buy for the long term when you're buying real estate. Unless you're an experienced flipper and you're doing something along those lines, I think if you're buying real estate to live in, I think you want to plan out 5 to 10 years. You can write out nearly anything that would happen in 5 to 10 years if you look back historically over data. So I think that's always safe advice. Renting right now is cheaper in Las Vegas than a lot of mortgage payments, but you have to factor in the opportunity cost of not gaining any equity over that time. You're looking in specific communities, specific parts of town that can really change the dynamic. Like Summerlin is just so much hotter selling than a lot of other parts of Vegas. So, that's why you really got to talk to somebody like me who knows these little communities. And you really want to know what's selling in there, what the long-term outlook looks like, what's being built around there. Like a division of Wynn just moved to downtown Summerlin, just right behind me. So I think they said 70% of their staff lived on the west side of Vegas, so they just moved the whole division here. So I think you want to see what's opening, what's going on, and what the long-term outlook looks like. So please like and subscribe to the video. Also, if you want to search for homes, I've got my website below. And lastly, if you'd like to discuss your move to Las Vegas, please schedule an appointment with me. We can do a Zoom just like this, or we can do a phone call. I would prefer that. It's a great way to get my full undivided attention, but you can also text me below. I've got my number down there too. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month for the next housing market report.